Make it of a marketer back here for some Thursday banter today, Jess, as you phrased up. You like really previewed this one hard for me and got me to think. As some of our listeners know, when we do some of these episodes, sometimes they're planned with guests. Other times we're just like ready to riff on marketing, like we're in front of the water cooler. So, Jess, you came up today with the most important marketing advice you'll ever hear on the show, ever. I'm excited for this because he got me to think because I do have a key moment where I actually had a boss talk to me about this. 20-something-year-old Andy, green Andy, one of the words I'm starting to really dislike in the marketing room, green, but I was green Andy at the time, to be fair. And what the greatest advice was for me and how I've kind of frame that up over the course of time. So I'm curious to see where we go with this and open for some Thursday banter.
Yes, more than banter, it's very important. You'll finally learn how to be an effective marketer, according to the two of us.
Yes. Not scientific. There's no data pulled. But you know what? I think that's something that makes our podcast good is that, there are a lot of podcasts out there that are data, cost per conversions, hacking the algorithm. Like we've seen that and they're good podcasts. Like there's some I've listened to, I've been like, okay, like that's their thing. Like I think ours is more about the conversations you're not allowed to have in the marketing room because you're not talking about cost, you're not talking about conversions, you're not talking about what's in it for me. You're talking more about like philosophy, I guess maybe what's in it for you, but in your career as a marketer, your vibe. So I think these conversations are good for us to always have.
Yes, I can't believe I'm saying it, but we're about feelings. We're so about feelings. I know. I get my eyes rolled at when I'm in the marketing room because I there a lot of the times I know the data is important, but I really do like to look at the human behavior and how someone is feeling, and that has guided me to the place that we are in today.
So here's like my greatest eye roll I get, or aha, depending on who it is when I always go into the context about what data point have you ever read that says high production or spending more on your commercial means it resonates more with the audience. And you will hear crickets, I'll get looks, and some people are like, yeah, like we've been trying to say this for years. That's like the one for me that like is always like my jaw dropper. Like you could spend 20 million on a commercial, you could spend 100,000 on a commercial as a consumer, and in our fields, Jess, nobody cares. I think, but that's just one of many discussions we have.
Exactly.
So take us through, like hit us with what's your advice? Like let's get right into it.
Well, okay, this is not like groundbreaking or new. I literally talk about this on the show, probably every episode in some form or another. And I find it come out in our guests in some form or another. But it really is all about being interested in the customer, putting all of your emphasis on the customer need versus trying to be a cool brand.
Yeah.
And that was really the biggest eye opener for me, and where I came to this point and this realization is when I actually had a real customer interview. In my sales career, I always thought that I had to be so buttoned up, so polished. I had to have very specific questions. I couldn't share any feelings or emotions. It had to be very professional, super like down to like the data, the business. And I finally had a real conversation with a customer, and she shared her feelings, and it was very powerful, very strong. And I really was able to get to her true motivations. And after that, everything changed. I completely reframed every problem and solution that I was receiving from the customer, and it made me such a more effective marketer. So I let go of this notion that as marketers, we have to be like we have to be edgy, we have to be cool with how we present the brand, and just reframed and
Mhm.
just put it all on the customer. And it was actually like, no. what really matters to the customer. Because if we could get that, and if we really have that deep understanding, then whatever we present to them is going to resonate.
So now this will really resonate with you kind of in your sales career here. So like let's think of it now. You know, you've got that customer, you've learned the customer, you've mastered the marketing to that customer, and then what happens in a sales meeting or a business meeting at some point? How do we scale? Like I think we need a whole podcast just defining what is the word scale in business because it means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of people, but scale, sometimes we want a different customer. We want a new customer. We want to open a new business line, someone completely different than they've gone after before. But then what ends up happening, and I've seen this so many times, is you go after this new thing and you alienate those who were your top one percenters and they turn their back on a brand eventually. So, it's like as you try to scale customers, something that I've tried to think about, and as I market, how do I do it in a way that I'm not alienating my 1%, and if I'm trying to go after this new broader 90%, does my product make sense for them? Does my marketing make sense for them? And maybe it just means slowing down and talking to the customer. Like we always say, are we having conversations to even know if it makes sense before we go big and broad with marketing? That is, I think, a pitfall I see of a lot of companies are just trying to do too much to your point because there's someone saying that we need to be edgy or we need to do this or we need to hit that or this is the new in thing. The data can say that, but it has to make sense for the group you're going after. Like Liquid Death, it makes sense for them to do what they're doing. Like, it's carbonated water, but for like, a different type of product, it may not.
Yes, I like to look at this as the reverse funnel. So it is great when you're going out there and just finding these observations, having these conversations. You start with one customer, and you may talk to a customer that is in that 1% or what I call an extreme user, and they absolutely can help influence how you're going to reframe the bigger problem and the solution, but it is great to start with one. You start with one and you find that really impactful observation or that feeling where you're really getting to something. Like they have this emotional, visceral reaction, and that's when you know that you're getting to a deep motivation, a deep value. Then
Yep.
you take that you start with one person and then you take that and then you reframe their problem and solution and then you put it into a broader statement. So it's like you take the inspiration from that one person and then you make it a little broader. Because what I have found is typically if you're speaking with a few people, actually Nielsen research has shown that you only need to talk to six customers, surprisingly. So that kind of blows up the whole market research model, but you can really get to what the overall problem is just by
Mhm.
talking to six customers. Because then you start to see with those deep conversations, you start to see, okay, are there any similarities? Are there any contradictions? Like how can this all play into like that general or that more broad scaled
Yeah.
statement? And that's how I like to look at it. And it's been very effective because what I've seen with having those conversations is yes, some things really stand out. And then you start to hear what other people are saying, and it's somewhat similar. They're like it's what is it? Human nature. We kind of all tend to do very similar things. We have similar feelings and values, motivations. So if one person is feeling it and it's really strong, then chances are many people have a similar sentiment.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the thing that just keeps coming up in all of these conversations about products with AI. Like we hear this over and over and over again popping up where I think marketing, sales, tech people, like they're like, heck yeah, AI. But like consumers, just like regular consumers are watching a commercial, they want to use a product. They like the chat GPTs of the world. They like the image creators. We love Opus clips. A lot of people like the product perspective of it. But when AI marketing is used as more personality or large brand driven marketing, like you and I are both seeing it right now. There is a very aggressive no coming from a lot of customers that they are not into it. Like they're into authenticity, they're into real, they're into how it helps their like real authentic nature. And this is just going to be something over the next few years. Like we're going to see this bubble. I think there's going to be a few brands that like figure it out. They're like, we've learned how to make this work in like a real world, like real life scenario, like Chat GPT. I think people use it for a lot of practical things. For every one, there's going to be 10 that are like AI, cool tech, try our product. And people are just like, no. And it's just like, what I've kind of wondered is, are they stopping to talk to the customer? And that's where this is like really good advice here, because I actually find that in my marketing career, I can turn a detractor into a really positive way of marketing our business if I understand what the detractors are and I'm speaking to it very one to one as a brand, not as saying that, like, hey, this is why you hate us, but more so, here is how we have a solution that is working against, or like, yeah, working against your detractor, like is building better X and Y, like speaking directly to that. So there's a clear understanding for the user before they're clicking your website, before they're having a sales call, before they're reading an ebook. If you don't give that up front, like a lot of people, they have a negative impression and they just kind of move off of it.
hmm And this is something that I actually talk about a lot as well. I know I said six customers, but also too with that mentality, when I think about and when I work with brands on how to innovate within these organizations, we don't so again, going back to the customer, always going back to the customer. As a marketer, you want to believe that you're the coolest, like you're the coolest, you have the best ideas, you have the ideas that are going to break through, that are the edgy ideas. I'm using edgy a lot today. And actually we're not. And that's okay. And it's wonderful if, again, you just put everything on the customer. So as you're going through your planning, continue to talk to the customer, bring them into your creation process, because they are going to be the inspiration. They are the muse
Mhm.
for your idea and for the idea to sell through. That is our theme for this season, how to sell through your ideas. So if you continue to bring them in and you continue this feedback loop throughout the entire planning and creation process, you're going to have an effective campaign, you're going to have an effective idea, and you're going to have an idea that is going to be more easily sold through in your marketing room, because you can't deny the customer need. It's hard to say that something isn't right or is not effective if the customer has been there since day one and they're the ones giving you the feedback and giving you the inspiration to evolve the idea and make it more innovative.
Yeah. And they will tell you when you can scale and can't scale too. Like if you change things up and just start getting negative attribution across the board, they've told you that this isn't scalable for whatever reason. And that's okay. Like brands run into that. Like you try new things, you try to tackle new demos. Like it's just that's part of the game. And I think you have to find ways to work through it. Um, my advice, so my marketing advice, kind of like tailored this in perfectly, Jess. So when I was in radio, starting off my career as a social media manager, very new, of course, with social media being leveled up into marketing, being leveled up into sales, business, etc. So it's a hard sell at that point. I still think it's a hard sell for some people, but even then, probably a lot harder than it is today. So my boss He is someone that I consider not only my first, I would say, boss that really worked with me in depth, but also a true friend. Like someone that like now we just sit and talk baseball. Like in what I've learned is in your career, not everybody's going to be that, and that's okay. But when you have those people in your career and you can count them on two hands, like they're very pivotal people of your career. And like I go back to our conversations quite a bit. Thing he told me about marketing that like really sticks with me is like, Andy, you're one of these people that has ideas, your go-getter, your energy, like it cascades, like it brings out the best in people. Like marketing rooms, like they want to work with me like right away. He said that also can bring out um, roadblocks because energy, to your point, Jess, like energy isn't always buttoned up because you might have a grand idea and there might not be a data point, but it's like he has an idea and he has conviction behind it. So, one of the things he said is that when you start your creation process, you have to find ways to bring full teams in. So, this could be sales, this could be leadership, it could be creative, it could be anybody. It's like you have to find ways to bring teams in. You have to find ways to bring teams in so when you get to the end of this project, that they all get credit. And he said, if you can't create a scenario in which everybody gets credit in a marketing room, then it's going to fall short. He's like, you're going to keep spinning your wheels, you're going to keep doing different things because people need to feel like they've been part of the project, they've gotten credit, they've gotten it through. So like I relate that now because I don't know if I fully understood it all the way then until I had more reps, but I relate it now to when we have a lot of marketing leaders on our podcast. The first thing they say when they talk about a success story is they talk about the teams that were involved and how they utilize them. So I kind of just think about this through the grand lens is that Ford is a great idea. You're talking about for listening to the customer, for actually getting it to market. I'm always training my brain and I have to slow down because it moves too fast sometimes. It's like, am I bringing everyone in? Is there a clear way for them to get credit? And not just getting credit, can I articulate that to them in a way that makes sense to get everybody involved? So I think that's just a constant thing to work on because people are moving too fast in lots of different directions. But if I'm a marketing leader, that's the thing that I'm thinking about because as much as we want it to be for the customer, it also has to look good for us. Or, we can't get to A and B and stay with the company and do all the things we want to do.
And it's gonna look good for you if you use the customer as your through line. You can
Yes.
gather people around the customer's goal and make that the priority, then look at how that align, get the team together, get that alignment, and then look how that connects to the organization's goal. And the organization's goal should, in most cases, be
Yes.
tied to the customer and doing what's right by the customer.
And maybe we need those goals when we're asking the customer. So I like, social media listening is my thing. So like, let's say your goal was this statement. Like you have a brand statement, has all the buzzwords, you're about, like everything. Embed those statements into a social media listening tool and see how the attribution is. If you see it's low, like the customer is showing they don't know that this is what we do, bingo. Like there's your marketing right there. Like do it in any video formats, influencer formats, paid formats, omni-channel marketing, everyone's involved. That's your answer right there. But then it's kind of like what I think happens is it's the speed. Like a lot of people are trying to move at this like really fast speed right now. And the slow down, ensure people are brought in, get credit, you build a holistic plan, sometimes isn't quick. So like I think there's this like tussle a lot of marketers have.
Right. And if they don't know what you do, yes, that is a problem. That is something that needs to be addressed. But then again, if they don't know what you do and they don't know how it's going to impact them and make their ability to achieve their goals more efficient and effective
Mhm.
or make their life better, then they're not going to care. So it doesn't matter that they don't know what you do. So
Yeah.
again, I'm telling you, the customer is the through line in
Yeah, it
this
always is. And it
Yes.
has to start somewhere. Like someone's got to bring, they got to focus the customer. It's generally obviously going to be at a high level, that it's very customer centric. And then there has to be that through line through everybody that gets it there. So like I think sometimes in a perfect world, I think that's the way it is. Let's say if it's not perfect, and this is kind of in the radio instance, it probably wasn't perfect at this point, that as marketers, even if we have what's considered more of the junior or green title, are we trying to continuously keep bringing that to the table? You know, you're going to probably lose a lot more than you're going to win, but you have to keep bringing the customer centric side back, how it ladders up to different things, how you're bringing people together. I think there's just a lot of marketers that run out of energy, and I'm one of them. I've been there many, many times. So, like, I think listening to podcasts, hopefully ours is one of them, Positive Mojo, things like that. Like, I would say, the X's and O's are good, but get out of the X's and O's too. Like, I think sometimes it's good just to have hear people kind of banter about, marketing, top tips, what's changed their careers. Like, all of that plays a big role for me. I've heard the same things 300 times, and there's probably 10 like talk tracks out of the 300 that stick with me and guide my career. So if you get 10 out of 300, that's still valuable in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Well, sometimes it's, Gary V screaming at you. So, that's that's another method.
Well, that does bring up a good point, Andy. Again, and we've talked about this too. Yes, customer through line, got it. Always bring them in. Always get their feedback. They're your muse. You're going to get inspiration from them. But you're not going to be able to please everyone. So yes,
Yeah.
there will be haters out there. There will be people that are going to say, "No, we don't like you. We don't like what you're doing. Change this, change that." And
Mhm.
you've got to find the balance in that as
Yeah.
well. And see how that ties, because this could go back into the extreme user camp as well, but see how that ties to the reframed problem and solution. And again, using the social listening tools, like, is this a small piece of feedback, or like, are you hearing this in a pocket, or is this like a general sentiment, or is it
Yeah.
a much bigger sentiment? Because
Yeah.
yeah, so finding the balance, I know it is hard, but it's like you also have to think too. It's like you wanna be there for the customer, very important, and you should be there for the customer, but you're not going to be able to please everyone.
No, and the bigger you get, you're not going to. Like that's part of being big and engaging and like moving the needle. If your brand's boring, nobody talks about it. So like you gotta know what threshold you want for that. So everybody's got a little bit different. I did a workshop once on risk taking. So I dialed up the highest risk possible. And I was like, you probably like, I'm just guessing this isn't where you're at. And they're like, no, but I just want to show that like, hey, this is successful. Let's dial it back one rank. They're like, okay, that's a little bit more where I think we could go. Perfect, but it's good to talk about those examples. Like, as marketers, why do you like it? If you don't like it, say you don't like it. But like, that's my thing about marketing. Like, one thing I don't like that's I think permeates a lot of LinkedIn right now are people that call out marketing and like why it sucks and why their idea is better. I don't like that because it's a craft. Each marketer has a little bit different of a craft. Like there are ones that's like, yeah, not for me, not my thing. I probably wouldn't have gone that direction, but I would still like to hear about their craft because it might have been right for their customer and it's just not right for me personally. Maybe I don't even agree with the view they're taking, like of their life view. But again, like, is that who their customer is? Like, I'm not their customer, obviously, so they don't worry about me. So, like, I want to be kind of open-minded on that because I can pull ideas from these different concepts that might show themselves differently in my concept.
If you want to take some risks, I say move away from the data, move away from the actions, and start looking more at the feelings.
Mhm.
Feelings, controversial, because I know, like, I'm not trying to sound like hippy dippy here, but feelings do sell. And it's
Mhm.
very, it's a very
Well, there's a lot of data
powerful.
behind that. Like if you
Yes.
just look into data, there's a lot of data on that talk point.
Yes. Yeah, we're always saying on LinkedIn, especially in B2B, the sea of sameness, emotive creative outperforms the
Yeah.
industry on
Oh yeah.
all levels. We have found that with our data.
Yep.
More emotion, more feelings. It's a good thing.
Yep. Well, no, we're at time here. This has been wonderful, like I'd call banter again, around our top marketing advice. Like I think, tell us too. There's I think a lot of us, especially as done this for a while, there probably is like one statement, one thing, one failure, one success. Like there's always like a couple things that like stick with people. And then also a reminder too, especially if you're teaching some of those, more in start of their career marketers, like the things you say, they have a lot of I think they have a lot of dominoes, a lot of imprint on people's careers, like whether they stay in the game or not. Like I know probably half the people I started with aren't in it anymore. So like, I try to like be on the standpoint, I want people to stay in it, want people to enjoy this, have fun, grow their careers, like get to do the things they want. So all these topics are important. Keep them rolling, and we'll continue with our guest segments next week. So thank you, Jess. This was a good one, and we'll keep it rolling.
Thank you.
See you, everyone.
Bye.